Yo, 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 how's it going, guys? Welcome back and welcome to another episode of the Mutant XPerience podcast. This is episode 43. Tonight, I have a very special guest with me this evening, none other than the American Remy master, longtime Third Strike veteran, Dagger G. Welcome onto the
Hey,
show, Dagger G. Thanks for
what's up,
coming
man?
on. Hey, man, before we get started, just wanted to kind of, in light of all of the things that are going on right now and the FGC Dagger, I just wanted to, sort of acknowledge all of the stuff that's going on. Obviously, Dagger G, you're familiar with all of the recent allegations of misconduct in both the FGC and the Smash scenes. And
Yep.
so, to be honest, Dagger, I had a tough time trying to decide whether to stream or not. I know a lot of the people in the FGC that would normally stream today have decided not to stream. Um, and I thought long and hard about it. And obviously, you were cool with streaming tonight, but I just kind of wanted to let everyone know, kind of why I ultimately decided that we should go ahead with this podcast, Dagger G. Because
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I do this podcast is because I feel like because the FGC has been a huge positive part of my life, I feel
Mm.
like it's time that people spent more time sort of recording its history for better or worse, right? And so when I was thinking about this podcast, one of the reasons why, I mean, obviously I wanted to get to know you, and because you're such a phenomenal player, and I wanted to obviously give you a platform and an opportunity to tell your story. But one of the things that I've always been fascinated about was the Hawaii FGC. And so, for those of you who don't know in the chat, Dagger G was a huge part of the original Hawaii FGC scene. And so, hopefully, during this podcast, Dagger G is going to give us a little bit of insight on how that scene developed. And so, anyway, going back to the point I was trying to make, obviously, a lot of these things that are going on right now are disheartening, Dagger. But I think what would be even more disheartening is if we let those type of negative things kind of affect some of the positive stuff that we're trying to do, like in this podcast. Because I'm sure, I don't want to speak for you, Dagger, but I think this would be a great opportunity for a newer generation of Third Strike players to learn about a scene that hasn't really gotten a whole lot of exposure. I mean, how do you feel about that, Dagger G, in terms of the Hawaii
You
FGC?
mean the Hawaii FGC?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just not just the Third
Uh,
Strike Hawaii FGC scene, but the FGC scene in Hawaii. Yeah.
I feel like Hawaii has always kind of been like a dark horse
Mm-hmm.
in the fighting game scene. We've had players make top eight in
Mm-hmm.
Marvel before, or early on, and they always place well, and we travel up to SoCal to do like SEO qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
So like people know us, and I think people still know us. You remember James
Mm.
Leviathan?
Leviathan, Yun player, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They run a suite at Evo
Mm-hmm.
every year, the Hawaiian sea salt suite.
Mm-hmm. I like that
So
name.
like people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think people still remember. Um, but yeah, it's always been kind of like on the DL, like not
Yes.
really much exposure.
Mm-hmm.
uh, but I mean, I think that's good.
Yeah. So before we get to that,
I,
though, Dagger G, I wanted to start at the beginning with you because obviously this is one of the first times we've ever gotten an opportunity to interact. And so I want to know about more about you, man. Like, how did you get into, kind of where did you grow up? How did you get into video games, and then eventually into the FGC? Tell us a little bit about your experiences growing up.
yeah, well, I was kind of like a typical arcade rat. It's either like after school or even like cut school to go to the arcade. And after school, maybe what games were out at the time? would play. There was a Marvel 2 machine at my local arcade, and after school,
And where did you grow
people
up,
would
real
line up.
quickly? Sorry,
It,
man, but where did you grow up? Like
oh yeah,
you grew up in Hawaii, or did you?
yeah. Born and raised.
So you
Born
were
and
born and
raised.
raised in Hawaii. Okay, so you're talking about the Hawaii. You're talking about Hawaii, kind of like in the '90s, I guess, around there. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
guess so.
Not
Early
to out your
2000s,
age,
90s.
but just kind of get some context, right? And so you were talking
Yeah.
about the Marvel machine.
Yeah, and then we'd line up and play, and like we kind of formed like a little community, and maybe like even kind of like a small hierarchy. I thought that was pretty fun because I always used to play fighting games on console, just
Hmm.
against the computer or whatever. I always thought the concept of fighting games were very interesting,
Hmm.
and I always wondered if they had like pro level, you know, sports, like kind of like
Hmm.
I always wondered how it would be like
Yeah.
high level,
Hmm.
and so I actually went to started going to another arcade because that arcade, it was called Hawaiian Brian's. It
Hawaiian
had a
brands.
Hawaiian Brian's.
Oh, Hawaiian Brian's. Okay.
Yeah, what's really funny? Just a side note is Dog the Bounty Hunter uh, had said in one of his episodes that Hawaiian Brian's is one of the most dangerous places in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's true personally, but
Yeah.
yeah, used to go there and
Uh-huh.
play Beat Mania, and
Uh-huh.
I noticed that the fighting games always had a crowd around them, and so I kind of wanted to know what the buzz was about, and my friend James Leviathan got me into it because I had kind of a decent interest in CVS2,
Uh-huh.
and so that's kind of like what I started with, like seriously, like okay, I'm seriously gonna learn this game,
Uh-huh. So for
and
the record,
then
for the record, what was the first fighting game you remember playing?
oh man, fighting game ever, probably World Heroes.
World Heroes? Okay.
Yeah,
I was a
man,
big World Heroes fan. Okay.
yeah, man,
Uh-huh.
fucking knockoff Street Fighter characters. Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the first fighting game I've ever played.
Uh-huh.
But I think CBS2 was the first game I started learning seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and right away, like because the scene had already been kind of established at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so James was teaching me about like roll cancels and all that advanced shit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was like, wow, it can get pretty deep, and I got hooked after that.
All right. So you started really, going hard on CVS too. And so when did Third Strike come into the picture?
Well, at the arcade, we only had one machine of at Hawaiian Brian's,
Uh-huh.
CVS2, Marvel 2, and Third Strike.
Uh-huh.
So, and the lines were so long that a lot of times people would just play the other games.
Like how long were the
Like,
lines?
well,
Like
maybe like 5 to 7
yeah.
people in front
Yeah.
of you. Yeah, so like maybe like a 20,
Dang.
30-minute wait sometimes.
Woo.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so actually everyone started doing that. So mostly everyone in the scene would play all the games because they didn't want to wait for whatever game they were waiting for. So yeah, that's when I started learning Third Strike,
Mm-hmm.
and James had told me you should probably pick up Shun
Uh-huh.
as your first character because it's easy, and me being like a contrarian, it's like
Mm-hmm.
pick up that hard shit. So
Yeah. That's really
just wanted
interesting how
to.
that developed, right? Because Leviathan, obviously his main is Yun, and then you kind of talked about you being the contrarian. You wanted to pick kind of the opposite spectrum with Remy.
Yeah, yeah, I think low tier heroes kind of always start with that,
Uh
but
huh.
I don't think I was a low tier hero per se. Like I actually did truly believe that Remy, if played correctly, could be high tier at least.
Well, I mean, you look no further than Pierrot's performance at the
Yeah,
2018
exactly,
Co-op Cup. Uh,
exactly. Like I used to tell James, like, listen, man, if this game was played for 50 more years, Remy would move up. Like slowly but surely, he would move up the tier list.
yeah, maybe so,
And
right?
it's true. It's true. It's true though. Like he has been.
But
So
but describe to me some of those experiences though, learning because you were talking about how in the arcade scenes back in the day there were lines you had to wait to play, and so tell me a little bit about kind of learning a character like Remy in those early days. Like, was it
oh man.
easy? Was it tough? What like describe to
Ooh,
me kind of some of the things that
yeah,
you had to go through.
yeah, I remember in your commentary, you were saying that you were talking about how low tier back in the day is pretty rough, and
Hmm.
it's true. It's true because there is no information.
Hmm.
There's no information. You have to go online, maybe on SRK.
Hmm.
You'd scroll through hundreds of arguments about whether something is good or not,
Uh-huh.
just to find like a small tidbit of useful information.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's how it was. So it was kind of like you have to figure it out for yourself.
Hmm. Yeah.
And back then, console really wasn't as popular as it is now.
Hmm.
Um,
Now, when you first started going hard on Third Strike was already available for Dreamcast by then.
yeah, but
And so, did
it
you?
sucked.
I'm well, yeah. I mean, that's been established in many different other arenas. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, right? There was still a console home version of Third Strike, and there was a
Well,
training mode, right? In that
I
version, I think, or was there?
I don't know. The third strike I had on console was the anniversary collection on PS2,
Okay.
I believe.
But that came out a little bit later,
Uh,
right? Yeah.
yeah, but also at the time, like a lot of people don't really think about this, but commercial arcade sticks
Hmm.
weren't really a thing at the time.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
do you guess what everyone did?
What did they do?
They had to make their own
Oh,
sticks
they
so
didn't.
they can
Yeah.
practice. They had to
Wow.
forge their own swords
Well, that's a real interesting story.
learn the game.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. That's kind of interesting. So, like, is this kind of something that, like, because and from my experience, right, coming up in the old school FGC in SoCal, it was the standard was the Moss stick. I own a Moss stick, so
Yeah, yeah.
that was kind of the standard already at the time because I really started getting into the scene around the early 2000s.
Mm.
And so, as far as, Hawaii and the scene is concerned, people were making sticks. Like, was that something that was, I'm sure it happened all over the country, but like, was that something that was really big in Hawaii or, you know,
Well, I'm not really sure
uh,
about that, but I know there are a bunch of like arcade heads, like
uh,
retro arcade heads that do that kind of stuff.
uh,
But man, when I went to my first major,
uh.
I
And what was that?
everyone.
What
I
major was
think my
that?
first major. I think my first major was Evo 2005 or 2006.
2006. Okay.
Probably 2006.
Uh-huh.
I think they had a Yaris, Toyota Yaris.
Yeah, that's when they did the Evo East and the Evo West. They did the
Yeah.
qualifiers. Yeah.
I think that's when I started going to majors. But it was pretty interesting because
Uh
everyone had like very unique sticks
huh.
that they had to make themselves,
Yeah.
probably, or buy for an exorbitant fee.
Yeah. That was the era of the school desk sticks. Remember some of the people brought the sticks that were made on the school desks.
Yeah, or like shoe
Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah. So let's go back to,
Wasn't it?
let's talk a little bit more about, learning Remy back in those days. So you're in the arcade scene. Obviously you got a guy like James that you can kind of grind with. But tell us a little bit more about kind of, you know, figuring out how to use that character in such a competitive environment. Like what are some of the things that you kind of remember the most about kind of learning Remy in those early days?
Well, I think I picked him because I originally uh, had this idea when I was a kid
Mm-hmm.
that Guile was the best character
Mm-hmm.
because his moves were so easy,
Uh-huh.
and because his moves are so easy, your reaction time increases.
Okay.
Like if the guy jumps, then it's just up and kick,
Mm-hmm.
flash kick, right?
Yeah. Even
And
though there were
I
some
thought
players
that
that couldn't even do that, but that's another time.
yeah, but yeah, like I so I'm a big fan of consistency.
Okay.
I was like, I played Guile, and I had thought that he was the best character. Who's Guile in Third Strike? It's Remy. So, despite what everyone had told me about him being a shitty character,
Uh huh.
I picked him up anyway.
But
And
but but why were they saying he was a shitty character? Was it like what were some of the things that they were pointing out
hmm,
in those early days specifically, where they were like, "Dog, you shouldn't be about this Remy life, man." Like,
well, like they were saying, his
uh
supers
huh,
are not very good.
uh huh,
He uses a lot. He uses a lot of meter.
mhm,
You have to be able to charge partition.
mhm,
I don't know. So people back then had like an aversion to learning that for some
mhm,
reason,
mhm,
and yeah. So it was like a normal consensus that Remy is not a good character to learn the game with.
mhm, mhm,
But I think in the end, it kind of benefited me because
mhm,
learning the game without any kind of resources or anything, kind of like from the ground up for myself, is I kind of made up my own style,
mhm.
and I had my own ideas about the game itself,
Mhm.
and yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and so kind of along those lines, that kind of leads me to my next question. How much, you kind of answered it already, but like, was there any, like, were you kind of like a lot of other Third Strike players back in the day? Like, you were always thirsty for footage, those tech, downloading those torrents,
Yeah, man.
those
Yeah, hey,
videos. Like, were you someone that was, were you someone that was really like, really into that content in terms of helping you get better?
I looked at some resources
Mm-hmm.
for ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like learning the game itself, like I kind of did that all myself. Like, man, I used to at work, man. I would have like this notebook
Mm-hmm.
and that was like filled with like partition setups
Mm-hmm.
or like
We're gonna have to get a copy of
no,
that notebook.
oh god,
We're gonna have to get a copy of the
like
notebook for the future Third Strike Hall of Fame.
like I'd be like, you a sonic boom a certain way,
Mhm,
and then you can do X moves,
mhm,
and that counts for 2 points of charge, or
mhm,
3 points of charge, or whatever. And
mhm,
I had all this stuff
mhm,
laid out, and no, it was fun. It was very stimulating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so kind of going back to learning Remy, how did you learn all this technical stuff? Like, did you, were there certain websites or were there certain players? Like, kind of back in the day, right? Like even stuff like frame data. Obviously now frame data is one of those essential things that you have to learn in any fighting game, right? But
What's
back in the
funny?
day, frame data was just kind of like whatever. But like, where did
Yeah,
you find that tech, or like how did you help
I
increase your technical aspect of the game?
I only now, like, since I started playing again,
Mm-hmm.
like only now have I started to like look at the frame data,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
because like yeah, I didn't care about it
Wow.
back then or
Uh-huh.
whatever. But
Yeah. So
yeah,
so what about charge partitioning? Like when did you first learn about charge partitioning and sort of its applications and sort of how to do it and stuff like that?
well, someone had explained what it was to me,
Hmm. Do you remember who that
which
player
is
was, or was it just?
it might have been James. I think it
Mhm.
was James.
Okay.
What partitioning is, where you, because of the parry system,
Hmm.
game lets you hold a charge between like inputs, so you can do things like parry into Sonic Boom.
Hmm.
So like it holds that input, so you can do things like as long as you return to neutral, so you can do like Sonic Boom dash Sonic
Hmm.
Boom,
Hmm.
or like Sonic Boom dash dash Sonic Boom,
Hmm.
or Sonic Boom 3 dashes Sonic Boom.
Hmm.
And I created a system where I would move around the screen with dashes, because
Hmm.
Remy's dashes are so good, and throw the sonic booms. And depending on how my charge is, I would have different options.
Hmm.
So I could kind of see what the opponent is doing, and then like I'd have a setup. I'd throw a sonic boom with a certain charge, like where I'd throw it and start charging right away. And then so you throw the sonic boom, and then if they're jumping, do like a stand medium punch,
Hmm.
and so you let go of the charge, and then you charge again during the stand medium punch.
Hmm.
And if you do that, and with two down back charges during that time, while going to neutral, you'll be able to throw a flash kick after the medium punch.
Hmm.
So it was just a matter of like keeping my options open, or knowing what options I had. Like, so I would look at like kind of the airspace. I'd be like, okay, well, if he's jumping from this distance and I have charge, I can do like a roundhouse flash kick. Right? If not, then I can do if he gets closer, I can do a stand medium punch.
Hmm.
And if he gets even closer, I can do stand jab, which is a pretty much guaranteed anti-air, because you can just keep mashing it. And yeah, so that's kind of how I created my system. So I'd either I created different systems of charging, like throw the sonic boom with and end with down back,
Hmm.
or throw the sonic boom end with back,
Hmm.
and then after he finishes the animation, go to down back. If you do that, then that allows you to it makes your charge a little later, your down charge a little later.
Hmm.
You can do something for like for example, sonic boom dash, sonic boom kick.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
So
yeah, so
it's so that system to me tells me two things. Number one, you're a madman, right? Like you're in a good way, right? You're a madman. But number two, and this is kind of a question I had for you, and I wish I had asked this to Everdread when I did my podcast with him a couple years ago. By the way, you can check out the VOD of this podcast and other podcasts by going to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Mutant XPerience without the E. And check out the Everdread podcast. But one of the questions I wanted to ask Everdread, and I forgot to ask him, as a Remy main, and in particular someone who's been playing Remy as long as you or a player like Everdread have, and the reason I sort of compare the two of you is simply because the two of you have been playing the character since the beginning, really, and you guys have been sort of developing your games independently of one another, which is like really kind of cool to look at, right? But anyway, one of the questions I wanted to ask Everdread, and now I get to ask you, is just how, because from that system you were describing, it just sounds to me that when you're playing any kind of game, when you're playing a game of Third Strike, just like how aware you are of your charge partitioning and like how that like figures into your neutral. Because like when I like play Remy, right? Because I'm not a Remy main, So when I play Remy, I'll just play, I'll just kind of like rely on my understanding of basic Street Fighter and kind of apply whatever Remy has to that, right? But like, it's never like I'm never thinking on the level that you're thinking. You know what I mean? Like I'm just playing, but like I'm not thinking about, oh, okay, my charge partitioning options here or there. Like how aware are you during the game when you're playing of your charge partitioning? Is it something that you've just developed, like kind of just something that you're like, for example, with Necro, right? Like I had to learn how to pay just as much attention to the opponent's stun as I am to their life bar, and so I kind of had to learn that and develop that because that's kind of how you play to the character's strengths. And so how aware are you when you're playing a game of Third Strike about charge partitioning? Is it just something that just is second nature to you, or
Yeah, kind of. I think I actually really appreciate the complexity that Remy offers uh, because I have to think of all those things like my charge and distance, engaging distance and meter and all that stuff. It really keeps me engaged in the game.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has always kind of been a weakness for me, especially in other games where I would just start to kind of go on autopilot or not really be present. But because you have to remember all of that stuff, it's it keeps you in there in the moment,
Definitely.
And yeah, I feel like that's always been very, very helpful for me.
Yeah, because I feel like with those kind of specialized characters, at an early kind of stage in our playing careers, we have to be sort of more cognizant of specific things, right? Like for example, for me, Necro, I had to be very cognizant of the opponent's stun. For you, your charge partitioning, and it kind of sort of forces us, to those that doesn't, that don't give up, right? For those who don't give up, sort of requires a certain level of discipline early on in the game.
And I think that is very interesting. It's
oh, and sorry guys, not really sure what happened there.
Sorry there.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It's almost like you're playing a completely different game than everyone.
Yeah, I think we lost a video file, so maybe you can. Oh, there you go. All right, awesome. We're back. All right.
Yeah. Cool.
So go ahead, man.
Yeah, but it's almost like you're playing a completely different game than everyone else, and that's exciting. I don't know.
Well, it kind of goes into a game plan, right? Like I feel like a lot of the lower tier characters, they have to really have a game plan. They can't just fucking, let's just go toe in toe and let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Like those type of characters just aren't built that way. I think every character in Third Strike is built to have a sort of basic game plan. But I think the higher you get in the tier list, the more, at least to me, the more freedom you have with regards to how you want to play certain top level characters, right? Like, like with Ken, right? Like, he can confirm off anything. Yes. So, you can kind of, use that to your advantage and so forth and so on. Um, but yeah,
I guess you're right.
yeah.
I guess you're right. But I mean, when people play like those top three characters in
Hmm.
Third Strike, no one ever says, "Oh, I hate like oh man, I hate Ken." You know,
Hmm.
it's just like it's just another Ken. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
like there's millions of them.
Hmm.
Like from
Hmm.
my perspective.
Yeah. Well, I think this now would be a good time to take our first break. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about, Remy, and a little bit more about your tournament experience, Dagger
Yeah,
G.
man.
And so we're going to take a quick 2 to 3 minute break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back with some more Mutant XPerience podcasts. How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Mutant XPerience podcast. Welcome back. With me tonight is my special guest, American Remy extraordinaire. We got Dagger G. And so, Dagger G, before the break, we had just started getting into kind of talking about your development as a Remy player. And so, I want you to do some name dropping for me now, man, because I know this is what the stream monster's like. But what were some of the I mean, aside from James, because we've mentioned him rightfully so about 20 times so far during the podcast. Shout out to James, aka Leviathan, not Bathtub Leviathan, not to be mistaken by Brian from the Midwest, but Leviathan, the original Leviathan Yun player. What were some other Hawaiian Third Strike players that you kind of remember back in the day? Like, because for me, right, growing up in SoCal, I only knew you and James, but were there other really strong Third Strike players that kind of helped you get stronger yourself with Remy?
Yeah. I had a rivalry with a dude named Theo, and we had like a little. He played Ken, and at the time, I really hated the style, like that, the reckless Ken style, like jump ins and dashing ins.
Yeah.
And he used to play that. We kind of had a thing, and he had gotten with my ex-girlfriend.
What? What?
And, yeah, man.
Whoa.
There's all kinds of
wow. That got real immediately.
Yeah, man.
Oof. And, wow, I did not expect this. Okay, Dagger, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so we had a bit of a rivalry there. Uh-huh.
Wow. Okay. Any other?
But yeah. Hey, like it helped me get better.
yeah, I guess so.
When you have a personal stake in your gameplay, I feel like that's pretty good.
No, I don't doubt that for a second. That would be a highly motivating factor for you.
Some of the Marvel 2 guys. Have you ever heard of Golden Nismore?
No, I haven't.
And Golden Nismore and Robzilla were some Marvel 2 players, and I think they still play even to this day. Like I think a lot of the old Marvel heads are exactly like the Third Strike heads that were purists, like they're still playing.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about your tournament experience back in the day. So we had already talked a little bit about Evo 2K6. I was there as well. That was actually my last Evo, believe it or not.
Really?
Dagger. Yeah, that was my last Evo. I haven't been back since. Let's talk a little bit about, I think I may have referenced this in maybe another show or whatever, but the one and only time I remember ever, like I don't think I even introduced myself. I think I was just watching you play like a stalker or something. Oh, I better be careful, you joking about that, right? I don't want to joke about that right now. But I do remember the one and only time I watched you play was when you went to Family Fun. But I don't really remember all that many details about that day. Like what year? I don't even remember what year that was. It had to have been 2006 maybe, or I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I know I was there for
You were in a Ranbat video. Yes, SBO qualifiers. I think that may have been it. I'm not sure. But you did
SBO qualifiers.
But we had a singles tournament the night before, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys had a quick singles tournament.
So Saturday was singles, and then Sunday was the team tournament. I think I pretty much remember.
I believe so.
Our teams played each other. Okay, I'm so old. I think our teams played each other. I think I was teaming with Ed and Yi. Like it was me, Ed, and Yi.
Oh wow.
And then it was you.
And then we just got OCD.
It was you, Leviathan, and I don't remember your third guy. I don't remember.
Ray Ramos.
Was it Ray? You know,
Ray
you know what?
Ramos.
I think we can find this. I think it's on YouTube, guys. I think
It's
on
Ray
YouTube.
Ramos, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but we're gonna watch it anyway, just to see how shitty I was. You know.
No, you didn't play, man. It was.
No, I did play. I did play. I think it was me versus Bath. Versus James first. Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah, man. I can find it, dude. I have to go. We have to go that deep dive. Shout outs to the Shen. There, I found it.
It's always fun trying to go to another arcade and kind of like.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it. All right, let's take a trip down memory lane, Dagger G. Let's see let's see how this looks here. All right.
Oh God, yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is it.
That's me against Yi. I was so nervous.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
So it was Yi who used Ken, and then I think Ed used Chun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just got straight up OCV'd by Yi though. Like I didn't really get much on him. I got hit by everything.
So why does
like Yi?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yi has always been a really aggressive player, and I think I always have struggled with that style, especially during tournament.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. This here. Oh, there you go. It's a little better. All right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh, but you're making them work. And remember, guys, this is what this is like 15 years ago. Well, when was this?
You know what this is. It's welcome to the real world.
Welcome to the real world.
Welcome to the real world. That's how I took that.
Oh, Ray Ramos. Yeah, his necro.
Oh my God.
Shout out to Ray Ramos, but we'll go ahead and skip this. I could have sworn I played. And this is, of course, Leviathan.
Yeah, we got wrecked by Yi.
No, I did play. See, there you go. See, I knew I played.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I think James BE. Let's watch that. We gotta watch that.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll watch that back. We actually got the first round, so let's watch that back. This is like NBA players watching their AAU games back or something. Oh, okay. James feeling pretty frisky here.
And I remember watching this video maybe dozens of times.
Yeah.
after we got back home, like.
Wow. Oh, that's round one. I hope you're watching this, James. Maybe.
Yeah, you know what was kind of interesting is after we came for the first time, we kind of realized that like there was a certain style that people had in Cali where they would kind of make plays very quickly.
Like a suddenness, right? Like a
and
a burst.
It wasn't, and it wasn't always the best play, but because they did it so soon, it became the best play. You know what I mean? Like for us, I think we were always really trying to slow things down. So that was a real shock, especially playing against Yi.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that trip to Cali. Was that like the first time you went to Cali, or You been before?
No, I've been to Cali. I have
Uh-huh.
some family in Cali.
Mhm.
Um,
But as far as
but
going to
yeah, like
family fun, was that your first time going to family?
yeah, it was
Okay.
great. Like
Mhm.
we went to family, and then we went to what was that one at the Asian like like an Asian strip mall? Was it Arcade Infinity?
Oh yeah, yeah. In gosh, no, I'm blanking on the town that Arcade Infinity was at. Been that long, but yeah, it's basically an Asian strip mall. I think I told this
Yeah.
story before in the podcast. Me, Mr. Universe, and Ed Ma, we spent Christmas. We ate Christmas dinner at the restaurant next to the Arcade Infinity. It was like a restaurant slash Walnut. Yes, thank you. It was like a restaurant attached to like a Chinese grocery store or something. But
Some good
yeah.
times, man.
And so who were the kind? Did you have people kind of show you around, or were you just kind of this is like
You know, I think that first time was yeah, probably our first time there and meeting people. I think Arlieth might have given us a ride from the airport.
Oh, awesome! Shout outs to Arlia.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you guys were really hospitable.
So yeah, like I don't think I ever introduced you to. I never introduced myself to you, but I do remember just watching you because like we didn't
Oh,
really get in a whole lot of Remy's. You know what I mean? At
mm,
least when I was coming up, there wasn't a whole lot of attention paid to some of the lower tier characters. We certainly didn't really
that
have
is true. But
anyone. Mhm.
that's true. I think still during that time, you were still known as one of the better necros in
Well,
the
only
U.S.
because there was like one of like maybe three people who were playing him.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah, man. Back then, I mean, what those were what the considered to be the dark
the
ages
Dark
of the
Ages.
fighting game community.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was right,
I mean, I
and
think
if
I.
you had it,
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, and if you had an arcade in your scene, you were considered to be very lucky.
Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah.
And like family was one of those hotspots.
Definitely. Wow, that was a.
Yeah,
I knew this video existed. I knew it did.
yeah, man. You know, and I don't know if it was this time, but I remember after we were done, we went outside
Uh huh.
and we sang "Happy Birthday" to Amir.
That's right. It was Amir's birthday. That's right. It was.
Uh,
Wow. Alright. So let's talk a little bit about Evo, man.
yeah.
So you said your first Evo was 2006.
Mhm.
Um, as far as Third Strike goes, there were a lot of memorable matches. I remember Pyro Lee versus KO Fiend. I remember Valle versus Daigo.
Theophene, man.
Yeah, there were a lot of really great matchups, and I think that was the first time Evo went to like a qualifier format when they had qualifiers for
Mhm.
Evo East, West, and I don't know if there was another region. I don't remember, but I think there might have been just Evo East and Evo West.
Yeah, East. I think East and West. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I remember about Theophene at Evo is I was watching him the casuals
Hmm.
and in the tournament hall, right, and in the BYOC area,
Hmm.
and he started lighting up a cigarette and he just started smoking as he's playing. And a security
Wait.
guy
Are you
came,
serious?
yeah, a security guy came to KOT and he said, "Hey man, you can't smoke here." And guess what he said?
What do you say?
He said, "I can do whatever the fuck I want." And
No,
like
he did not
continued to
say that. He did not say
that's a good, he and then he got escorted out.
What? I don't remember
Yeah,
that. Wow.
that happened.
That really happened? Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Oh, wow. So tell me
yeah.
what that first Evo was like, aside from watching KO Fiend get arrested or escorted out of the building. We're gonna have to
First,
confirm the story. Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like,
Mhm.
like at the time, I think all the rage was that the Daigo parry in 2004 was it?
Mm-hmm.
So like that was still fresh in people's minds, and people were really finding Third Strike. I think those were some of the best years for Third Strike.
Yeah, man, like the 2003 through 2007, that kind of that era for
Yeah,
American Third Strike. Um,
yeah,
that's definitely a period in Third Strike history that definitely could use a little bit more coverage and reflection.
yeah,
Um, and so
yeah.
yeah.
But what is interesting is there was still kind of like a win at any cost mentality
Mm-hmm.
in the American Street Fighter community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember, but yeah, like there were people that used to like hide tech, so they can bust it out during tournaments,
Mm-hmm.
or like they have like secrets, keep secrets from each other, and all this kind of stuff, right? That
Mm-hmm.
was a big thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think after when did SF4 come out? 2009,
2008, I believe. No, 2009. No,
2008.
2008. No, I'm pretty sure it's 2008 when SF4 came out. No, let's see. SF4. Yeah, 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
Arcade, Japan, July 18th, 2008. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember around then, uh, Arturo. Arturo is Saban, right?
Yeah, TS Saban. Shout outs to
Saban.
Arturo, NYC Furby.
Okay. Okay. He had made a post on SRK,
Mm-hmm.
and it was about SF4 because they had gone to Japan
Mm-hmm.
and grinded a little bit in SF4,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, you know what, guys, we gotta stop with this secret tech stuff. We gotta help each other, like legitimately help each other get better
Mm-hmm.
instead of just trying to beat each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think after that, people really started to kind of take it more seriously, especially like how arcade culture is in Japan, a little bit more, where they're all like they'll straight up tell you what they're doing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I do this move, and then you're -5, and then
Mm-hmm.
whatever, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was good to see that come to like American arcade culture.
Hmm. Okay. And so at Evo, how did you do? Like, who were some of the players that you played, if you remember, at your first Evo?
Oh man, I think I played Mopreme.
Oh, awesome.
Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what? Since we're on the topic of charge partitioning, do you want to know how I learned about charge partitioning? Dagger G. It was
What's
from
that?
Mopreme's video. Remember Mopreme? He made a video of charge partitioning.
Yeah, he made all kinds of
No, he made a
videos. He
video. He
was
made a video
one
about a
of
lot
the
of things. But shout outs to Mopreme.
yeah
That was my introduction to charge partitioning. Like that was
yeah
his video.
he was one of those Mike Z kind of technician guy folks.
Hmm. Yeah, Mopreme was
But
one of those players that early on, took a much more technical approach to the game.
yeah, it's always good to have people like that,
Hmm.
so you don't have to do the work, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, but there are some players that are more comfortable in the lab, right?
Yeah,
I think one of the things when it came to the old FGC is I think we could have done obviously among other things we could have done a better job of maybe better appreciating players that may not necessarily may have considered threats or people
yeah,
that were top
yeah,
level players but other people but they contributed to the scene in other ways, right? Like as far as the
right.
third strike scene is concerned, I have mad respect for for example for a player like Telesniper. Shout outs to Telesniper. He doesn't play anybody because he doesn't have a scene where he lives, but think about his contributions to the third strike scene. and
Yeah.
just the fact that the first time Telesniper played on an arcade Third Strike setup was last year. That just boggles my
Wow.
mind, right? But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. There's definitely Mopreme was, and then there were your combo video makers. You know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if this is the right time to bring this up, Dagger G, but I mean, people still make combo videos, but like, what happened to the combo video, man? Like, remember, like the combo videos were so hype when we were coming
Yeah.
up. Like,
Yeah.
what happened to the art of the
Yeah.
combo video? Like, is it because just everything's been
What
done,
happened?
or is it just a matter of that, or is there a way we can kind of bring that back? I don't know. Anyway, that's just a aside I
Combo
had.
videos.
But
Yeah.
remember
No,
back in the day, right?
you're
Like the
totally
Slim
right.
X videos, the Slim X videos. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Every Evo or major, they used to have
Mhm,
like combo video releases, like
mhm.
or they'd have like do you remember Majestros?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and he would make some cool shit, and and it would be debuted at Evo
hmm yeah.
or another major.
hmm
But yeah, what happened to that? I think dumbed down execution happened,
mm,
maybe.
maybe.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the only interesting combo videos I watch these days are from Desk,
hmm Yeah.
the Phantom of
Shout
the
outs to
Combo.
Desk. Definitely.
You know what that guy looks like? Do you know what that guy looks like?
I have no idea what Desk looks like.
I just imagine him with like a Phantom of the Opera mask on, like doing his combos, on his stick. Like, what does he look like?
Yeah. He's like that. He's like the villain from Inspector Gadget. All you see is his hand
Claw,
and the
claw.
cat,
Yeah.
the claw. Yeah. So you know, I guess what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take a quick break. But before we do that, I do want to talk a little bit about kind of Japanese Remy's. I know we had talked a little bit about how you develop your own style, but as the years went on and as we had more and more access to some of the footage of Japanese Third Strike play, what were some of the kind of coming up in the scene, who were some of the Japanese players that you kind of took notice of and paid attention to as you were kind of
Uh,
developing your own style?
the two Remy's I used to watch were Take and
Mm-hmm.
Hiro.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the third strike player I looked up to the most was RX,
Mm.
and that's because his style was always like he would always go for the best option,
Mm-hmm.
like no matter how hard it was.
Optimal.
You know, yeah, very optimal, and he would always get it. I mean, he was like a machine,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to think, well, I still do think to a certain extent, if Remy is played like optimally, like I think a lot of people don't realize that Remy is the kind of character. The thing that makes Remy good,
Uh-huh.
and the edge he has over every other character is that can you can see their play before you have to make a play.
Mm.
Like you throw like a light sonic boom from
Okay.
far full screen
Uh-huh.
come in, and then you can see what their decisions are
So you're
without
saying
any
you're
like.
saying the thing about Remy is a character that's built to make the other opponent go first and react so that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
okay.
he's black in chess.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that makes him like, or not makes him great, but it gives him an edge over other characters.
Yeah, like just personally,
Yeah,
when I play the matchup, when I play the matchup, especially against a Remy player that's as proficient as you, I feel there's always this feeling like whether I win or lose the game, like I'm just waiting, like I feel like I'm waiting for you to make a mistake. and
Yeah.
and it's not like maybe that is how I have to approach the match, but like
Mm,
there's always that feeling of uneasiness, right? Like man, if Dagger G can just make if he can make the
exactly.
right call every time, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly the game plan.
uh
And I think that's really cool. But I think RX kind of like encapsulates that optimal style. You know what
uh
I mean?
uh
Like no mistakes, even if it's difficult.
yeah,
Like
like
you still go for
everything
the
he
hard
does
shot.
has a purpose, right? No wasted motion, no wasted, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's kind of
Yeah,
how
but
you have to play with Remy,
talk,
right? You have to play pretty clean, right? I mean, I don't
right,
know. There's not a whole lot of margin for error when it comes to playing with Remy
right.
because of his stun, because of his life. It's like,
Yeah, like
yeah,
right. Like you're playing against yourself
uh-huh.
rather than the other person, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Piero,
Mm-hmm.
Take, even Everdred, like there wasn't any footage of him, but
Mm-hmm.
he had a thread on SRK called Everdred Teaches Remy.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah,
I
I
remember that.
tried to hijack his thread a few times, but
Oh,
I
did you?
failed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys ever met? No, right?
No, I've never met.
Wow. So if maybe the two of you will meet at the Jazzy finale
Yeah,
next
maybe
year.
maybe I like his style though. I feel like he has a much more like mix-up oriented like I think he definitely has a more basic game plan, but it's like he uses it very effectively,
Uh-huh.
and I think like I can learn something from that definitely.
No, I think if like you and Everdred and the Rage, if like you could like if there was a way we could Frankenstein you guys, like you would be the ultimate Remy player. I don't know how familiar you are with the Rage, but the Rage, his ability to partition and charge buffer
Oh
is
yeah, dude, me and him used to talk all the time on AIM.
mhm. On aim.
Yeah,
Oh no,
on AIM, man.
aim.
Yeah. Like we'd come up like he was just as much of a Remy nerd as I was. Like
Uh-huh.
we'd come up with like code words for like a certain type of charging, like
Uh-huh.
A charge or B charge or X charge, like man,
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah. So like, before we take our second and final break, what's some advice that you might give to players right now who want to maybe learn Remy or consider maining Remy, aside from don't main Remy?
Hey
Because
Remy, yeah,
whenever someone's like, "Hey man, like I want to learn Necro," like what do you have? What advice do you have for me? I always say number one, pick someone else, right? But number
no,
two,
not pick. Hey
but
man,
number two,
like
okay. But what would your
you
advice
shouldn't
be?
pick the character. You shouldn't pick the character if you don't believe in them.
Okay, that's good advice.
But but I would say just be prepared to put in the work.
Mm, mm, yeah,
Um, 'cause,
yes,
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work.
yeah. The path is the
But it's
path
good.
is hard and long and rough
Yeah,
and
but it's good. It's good. It's
difficult.
very rewarding.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. So on that note, we're gonna go ahead and take our second and final break. When we come back, more Mutant XPerience podcast with Dagger G. Don't go anywhere, guys. How's it going, guys?
He,
Mutant XP back on the mic. Welcome to more Mutant XPerience podcast, episode 43, with my special guest, American Remy extraordinaire, longtime FGC veteran, Street Fighter player, Dagger G. So, Dagger G, we have the illustrious Yuki, a 2019 Jazzy Circuit finalist. Thank you for hopping into the chat, Yuki. And so, Yuki wants to know about the finger that you cut off. I don't know what the story is, but
how do you hear about that?
he says, ask Kyle
Okay,
about his finger being cut off before. He told me the story before in person, but I forgot the details. LOL. So is this a story you want to share?
Sure,
Kyle?
sure.
Okay.
But I have to share a story about Yuki. If I'm
Okay.
gonna share that
Okay. So
story.
share the Yuki story first, and then share the thumb.
Okay, so Yuki, he lived in Hawaii for a little while, and he I think he kind of started his third strike career, I guess, at Brian's with us, and he was learning Urian at the time, and he would come and he'd do like really unsafe plays like EX tackle and stuff, and but it's kind of funny that I always knew he was going to be a good player because he was already good at yo-yos. You know what I mean? Like he already figured out how to be good at something. So like I had like full confidence that. Anyway, the story is sometimes he used to come to the arcade.
Mm-hmm.
And he would straight up bring a blow dryer in his backpack.
What?
Plug it in to the power strip of the in the same power strip as the arcade cabinet, and blow dry his hair. Don't tell me you didn't do that, Yuki. Don't tell me you didn't do that.
Wait. Hold on. Let me rewind this back in my head here. Okay, so you're saying that Yuki would come to the arcade and flat eye? No, that's even worse. And you would straighten your hair, or you would curl your hair.
He would do something like that with his hair. And he brought a device. Yeah, you're crazy, man.
So you would do your own hair while you were waiting your turn in third strike? Is that what we need to confirm this? But that's pretty funny. Okay, so now tell us the finger story.
I mean, it's no big deal. I was 17 or 18, I think. I accidentally chopped off my finger.
Oh my god, which finger?
My left index finger.
Wow. Ouch.
So and at the time I was left-handed, so it was kind of like a big blow.
Well, you could have played third strike still without your index finger.
No, yeah, it was no big deal. But I mean, it sucks for like musical instruments and stuff. I used to play the violin.
Well, wasn't it Tony Iommi, right? Didn't he have like missing fingertips on some of his?
I'm not that dedicated. So yeah, they reattached it, but I can't bend it.
Oh my god!
Like,
what?
If you look at it, see how it kind of.
Ew! Oh gosh! Dagger! Put that thing away!
You can kind of. It just kind of like flops around.
So like when you play that, because that's the hand that you hold the lever, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how was that? Was that how do you hold the lever then without the index? I mean, you don't really use it.
I mean, just without your index finger, like I don't do the wine glass hold. I hold it from the side, kind of like because I started with American sticks. So,
yeah, like I'm just
but
thinking,
I
how
mean,
the
it's just
hell
with
were you able to
my
move that with that hand, that American stick?
you know, you get used to it. You
Yeah.
get used to it. I mean, my middle finger gets kind of strong after a while.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh man, wow. Okay, wow. All right. So, I wanted to talk a little bit because you're one of the few players that, obviously has a long and illustrious third strike career, but you've also participated in other
Mhm.
modern games. And so you've kind of seen as a third strike player, you've been kind of players like Duralath and Arliath, these players that were traditionally third strike players, but they were willing, they were also willing to compete in the other modern games. Talk to me a little bit about the difference between first of all, let's start with the games, right? Third strike and maybe like a modern game like Street Fighter 5. And is there, and
Well,
what do you see Third Strike's place kind of now, and if there's any kind of
look,
value in playing it as far as newer
have
players?
well, what do you think? What do you think about Street Fighter Five? Have
You
you
know
played
what?
it?
When it first came out, yeah, I played it. I had actually built, or modified my computer, and then I found out that PS4 was the standard, and so that kind of that kind of soured
Mhm.
it for me. But yeah, I played it. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I didn't like it
Yeah.
enough to kind of pursue it. But what? But
Mhm.
you've played 5, right? You kind of played 5 in launch. We'll skip 4. We don't really have time to talk about 4, but or maybe you want to start
Yeah.
there, right? But
Or I feel like I kind of missed a lot of four,
uh huh.
unfortunately.
Hmm. So
I
so
mean, I
so
was
when
there for the beginning.
so when 4 dropped, right? You were someone then, for the record, you were someone who was who wanted to compete in 4.
Mhm.
Okay. And so what character did you use in 4 at first? Like what were your mains?
Guile.
So
I used
Guile.
Guile in four.
Hmm. And so what did you think about Vanilla? I mean, I know this is a Third Strike
Vanilla.
podcast, but obviously, you know, it's kind of weird because do you remember that kind of weird year or two where Third Strike and Vanilla kind of coexisted?
Yeah, and that was when they at Evo they had the team tournament for
Yeah.
Third Strike, right? Yeah, yeah.
But in a weird way, like both of them were kind of coexisting kind of in the arcades, you
Yeah, it was
know?
pretty weird, and there was some weird tension in teams. Noticed.
Uh-huh. But
Uh,
but tell us a little bit about that transition to kind of go, okay, you know what? Let's learn 4. Like
uh,
how did that kind of affect your Third Strike game? And did you just
no,
did you just drop Third Strike cold turkey to just focus on 4, or was it, did you kind of continue to play Third Strike?
well, I mean, I like to kind of go where the competition is.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I just play whatever because that's what fighting games are, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you find the competition and then you try to beat them, right? Yeah, but I think I might want to say that SF4 years were probably the best years of the FGC,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I say that because that was like right during the transition from what we were to say like esports,
Mhm.
and I think Street Fighter Five might have made a mistake in
Mhm.
or Capcom rather made a mistake in kind of steering to the more hardcore audience,
Mhm.
or trying to at least, or trying to get more people interested.
Mhm.
Like, man, and look at all the FGC being canceled right now.
Mhm.
Do you think that's a good thing, or do you think that's a bad thing?
Like, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Like the FGC is a lot of people are getting canceled right now.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you think that's a good do you think that's a good thing, or do you think that's a bad thing?
I mean, I think it's important that we, as a community, sort of prioritize the safety of everyone, at our events. And I think whatever means that we can take in order to do that, is definitely, I'm on board with.
Yeah,
Um,
right,
you know,
right, totally.
but as far as like, the SF4 scene, kind of like back in that period, right? Like you had said that you thought that was like kind of like the height of the SGC, right? Like why do you feel that way?
Yeah, yeah, and I say that because I think what everyone has been kind of seeing now
Uh-huh.
with like the sterilization of
Uh-huh.
the FGC. I think the SF4 era was kind of like when it was in the middle, where we're like grassroots, and it's like, okay, well, what do we want to do now? Like we look to the future, everything looks so bright.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Uh-huh. Okay.
I mean, it was a very optimistic time,
Uh-huh. And so obviously now
but
it's a little
you
we've
know,
fallen on black days, a little bit darker days.
no, I don't want to say that. Like, I kind of almost want to say that the FGC that I knew
Uh-huh.
might have been just a once in a lifetime thing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It might have just been that, and you can't recreate it. You can't monetize it. And I say that a lot because of like arcade culture
Uh-huh.
and how that's different from whatever it is now, which is
Uh-huh.
like what's the main what online play, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Is that how people get together most
Uh-huh.
of the time?
Well, Dagger G. Let's back up. How would you define arcade culture? Because I think that's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot, right? I mean, I'm guilty of throwing that
Right. Yeah.
around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You know, you're right. You're right.
how would
You
you
know,
define what arcade culture is?
so a lot of people talk of like I know there's a meme on
Uh huh.
Kappa about the raw FGC, raw old FGC, and I mean, and what was that? Those were the arcade days, right? And you know, I think I think the scene back then was highly based off of individualism, and because what are you doing? What are you doing in a fighting game? You are imposing your will on another person, right? I mean, that's what you're doing.
And so,
And
mhm.
and so a lot of it was like people that were in the scene, they were there because they wanted to be there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like the motivation for playing has changed.
Mm. So, what do you think the
You feel that
motivation
way?
is now?
I think the motivation is more like, look, okay, so maybe today you'll have a gamer that watches some videos and maybe he might have some like lofty dreams of becoming like a high profile streamer or like like a top player or something.
Hmm.
Back then, like you play at the arcade, you're there because you want to be there. Like look, think about all the people that would come into the arcade back in the day. They're
Hmm.
hooligans, they're drug addicts. They're not necessarily people that should be public figures.
What was this? Was this? I think everyone's arcade experience is different, right? I don't think we can generalize the kind of people that went to arcades across the
No, well,
board.
just okay.
But
Yeah, no, okay,
but
okay. You're right. You're
but
right.
maybe at your arcade, maybe that was the case. I don't know. Maybe at your arcade that was the case. But I'm pretty sure that was the case for a lot of arcades. But I think the point you're trying to make is that they're
Okay,
that maybe
okay.
like the people who go to the arcades, they're kind of just there to play the games, right? To kind of just, or is that kind of the point that you're trying to make, that they're just there just to be there, I guess? Or I don't know if that's the kind of what you're trying to get at, but yeah.
Okay, so my buddy had a pretty good quote. He said, the FGC, in the FGC, we're all trying to be king of an anthill
Uh-huh.
that no one knows exists,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But it's our anthill.
Mm.
Like, we created it.
Yeah.
We created that value out of nothing.
Hmm.
And that's why I've always kind of touted fighting games as like a personal growth tool.
Hmm.
What do you think? What do you think? Have you ever thought of it like that?
Well, it's I think it's similar to kind of what you're talking about. Like maybe you can kind of make a comparison to martial arts.
Yeah,
Um.
exactly. Martial arts. It's the same thing. You're on a journey, a lifelong journey
Uh-huh.
of improvement.
Mhm.
Right? Once you start playing the game,
Mhm.
you're on that journey.
Mhm. Mhm.
And back then you're kind of there because you you're there because you thought it was important, not
Mhm.
because you were told it was like
Mhm.
Capcom or something. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, there was a point in the scene where like, okay, well, we're esports now. We need to get bigger and better and like more inclusive.
Mhm.
You know? Do you remember when oh man, there was like a tournament at Evo that was like a special tournament for females only.
I don't recall. What do you know?
I,
What
th-
year that
I think
was?
it might have been
Mhm.
I don't know. It might have been for SF4 though.
Uh huh.
But they had like a women's only tournament,
Okay.
something like that. Do you think that you would feel like patronized if you're one of those players?
Like, do I think that like a female player that was participating in that event might have felt patronized? Is that what you're?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I could certainly see the possibility that someone might feel that way. I think it really, a lot of it relies on the presentation of the event. You know, like how was it treated? Was it how it was promoted, how it was run, how it was presented? I think a lot of
yeah,
that's contingent on that too. But
yeah.
I could see the possibility of a female player feeling patronized. I don't know.
Anyway, I bring that up because like, you think about people that would come into the arcade
Uh-huh.
back in the day and create a scene.
Hmm.
Uh, and I feel like, you go in, and you see a bunch of people, and it's like, hey man, this guy might be a crackhead, but he has
Okay.
a sick Akuma. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean?
Okay. Okay. I think I get what you're getting at. Okay.
Yeah. So the people that made up the scene from the beginning were not good people.
Hmm.
Like, you know, but they created something for themselves that had value,
Uh-huh.
and through fighting games, you learn that you can improve your situation in life if you work hard enough.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it. I get it. Yeah. So that kind of speaks back on this idea of motivation, right? That
Yeah,
like maybe are you, what you're suggesting is that fighting games doesn't have that kind of like the FGC has become short sighted in a sense. I mean, I don't know.
yeah. I think the motivation has definitely changed.
Uh
Like
huh.
people want, people like they're streamers or they want to get like some kind of notoriety
Uh huh.
or
Hmm.
But at that point you're not even playing for yourself.
Yeah. No, but that
You're
makes a lot
playing
of
you're playing
sense.
for other people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense
Hey,
though,
look,
Kyle. Yeah.
have you ever read this essay? It was by Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Hmm.
Essay is called Self-Reliance,
Hmm. Okay.
and there was a quote in it. Life is for itself, not a spectacle.
Hmm.
Like so you play when you're playing, you're just playing for the sake of your own self-improvement almost.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And arcades in general, like they weren't always the safest places. Like you kind of had to
No, no.
rely on you had to rely on yourself to
Hmm.
be there, and I think that is a lot. Like dude, I've gained so much in social skills from like arcade times.
Okay. Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like but after a while, it started becoming like, well, these guys are always playing together,
Hmm.
and they have their own clique, and they're better than everyone, and they don't want anyone to get as good as them, so they're not letting other people play with them. That kind of bullshit, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And then thus people are like, well, you should help us get better. You should be more inclusive.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Oh, that makes sense. No,
yeah,
like,
you bring a horse to water, you can't make it drink, right?
mm, yeah, yeah. No, no, you're right. And I like the idea of this sort of life, kind of like approaching it like the game as kind of like something that's with you for the long haul. Because like when we were coming up in the scene, obviously there were like these rare occasions when there would be a player that could, make or could rely on gaming for their source of income, right? Like there were very, very small exceptions, right? But for the most part, particularly in the FGC, when we were coming up, there was never this, oh wow, we're gonna get really good so that one day we can become sponsored and we can become a professional gamer, right? Like that wasn't there,
Right,
I
right.
guess. And so, when we were making the conscious decision to play the game, that wasn't a or maybe some people that had the creativity and the foresight to think, wow, this could really happen. But for the most part, there was not like oh wow, I hope I could be the next, I could be, the next big esports personality because that didn't really exist at the time.
Right, right. Like you play for the sake of playing.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Like or I don't know, like people didn't have to be enticed to come to the game.
mhm.
You know what I mean?
The game should speak for
Like
itself. Is that?
yeah.
Hmm.
Like we got at some point we got obsessed with like, oh, now we're getting some momentum. The scene needs to get bigger and better, and like more esports, like more. We have to get more exposure, right?
Hmm.
That's not what it was.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like originally, it's a bunch of outcasts. It's a bunch of outcasts, and
Mhm.
people that a lot of people that don't necessarily like belong in society, but through fighting games, uh, like I said, learning to improve your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Man, there was a kid that used to come. He must have been like 15 or 16,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt so bad for him. He had he only had like a single parent, which was his mom, and she would come to the arcade and drop him off and go gamble, or and yeah, I think she was a meth addict as well.
Yeesh.
Yeah, man. But he'd come to the arcade, and he played Tekken. He actually managed to have a pretty decent king. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like
So what happened to this kid? Like, you know?
yeah, no, man. I wonder how he is now. You
Uh,
know, like
yeah. Like to me, man, it all goes back to the game, right? Like I feel like, and I don't know. Maybe it's obviously I'm from a position of bias because I'm, obviously because my game is Third Strike.
yeah,
But dude, like the game, it goes back to the game, right? Like we were
yeah.
all like maybe we need to focus collectively, kind of, hey, let's get back to the game. Like let's get back to like
Yeah,
let's get back to like, yeah,
exactly,
paying attention to the beauty of the
exactly,
game, and let's let that be kind of
exactly. And
what
that's
binds us together, right?
and yeah. And I've kind of been a little despondent over that for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, man, when I saw that Jazzy trailer from last year or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the trailer that came out, or not the trailer, but that little documentary
Yeah.
as did.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it and I was like, this is the FGC that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like people that want to improve. They're constantly, they want to get better. They want to play people who are better than them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far
Like
as
it's not.
Jazzy is concerned, our intention is like if someone if a player is able to use Jazzy as a catapult to greater notoriety and greater fame in the world of esports, then obviously, we would be, we would have nothing against that, right? But that's not kind of what Jazzy sort of caters to, you know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
something was said that really resonated with me.
Mhm.
That Third Strike, in particular, is it allows for a lot of freedom of self-expression,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I think that's a lot of that is missing in the new fighters today.
Mhm.
Like like an SF5, you'll get knocked down and then you'll get put into like a three-way Oki
Mhm.
setup that does huge damage either way, and so of course they're gonna go for it.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, it just doesn't seem as it's more like you're playing against the character rather than the opponent.
Yeah, and I guess it really just goes back to Capcom needs to make a better game, I guess, right? Like they just need to do better. I mean, is that kind of what it is? Because like imagine having to like play a game that is not great.
I don't know. They,
Like
you
like
know what, man? No, that's not true. Look at Marvel 2.
uh-huh.
That game is garbage.
Oh no. Okay.
That game is absolute
Uh
garbage.
oh.
But
Dagger G.
people, I don't know. Like, well, like think about all the characters in that game.
Okay.
How useless maybe 90% of them are,
Okay.
right? But people still had fun with it, and
Uh huh.
and they still learned and adapted.
Hmm.
I feel like that's something that's missing nowadays is adaptation. Like sometimes people will find out
But what's
something.
the incentive to adapt when you know that you're gonna have a patch every year?
Exactly.
Like,
Like it's like, hey, what's the new hot shit? It's It's jab anti-airs. Okay. now X patch is gone.
Uh-huh.
You know, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you're just creating soft players.
Yeah. Well,
What you think?
well, speaking of flash in the pans, or speaking of the new hot stuff, I think now's a good time, Dagger G, to initiate you in a segment on the Mutant XPerience podcast that everyone has grown to learn and love. And of course, we are talking about Pack It Up. I don't know how familiar you are with Pack It Up, Dagger G, but I scour the internet for some of the more unique examples of Third Strike. And so, seeing that I have a Remy master on the podcast, I thought what I would do is find 5 Remy clips or 5 players of using Remy and maybe not making the most correct play. So, but don't worry, Dagger G, you're not on this. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. It's just other Remy players. And so we'll go ahead and get started here. And so without further ado, guys, let's check it out. Pack it up, guys. All right. So pack it up. Shout out to Dirt Master for our new theme song for Pack It Up. And so nominee number 1 is I already forgot. Oh, okay. I think this is Piero, and he I don't know why he doesn't block that EX fireball.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure what he was doing there, but yeah, it cost him the game there. Nominee number 2. Okay, a great punish. I definitely think this Remy player could have gotten something. This is actually a clip of Kuroda's Goki. Speaking of Kuroda, yeah. Well, speaking of Kuroda, this is from the Kuroda Remy DVD. I don't know why I found that really funny, but this Yang player was able to bait Kuroda into doing the wake up EX flash. That was punished. And speaking of EX flash, this has to be maybe a mistaken EX Sonic Boom, maybe. Maybe this is a mistake, but either way, it didn't spell good news for the Remy player. And then last but not least, we have from Maximilian getting caught with the stun gun headbutt. That's you really feel like shit when you get caught with that. So this is pretty funny here.
It's just jabbed.
Yeah. Well, he had already pressed. He had already committed to the roundhouse, so it was really nothing he could have done. Anyway, guys, so here's the Remy faux pas Pack It Up edition. Go ahead and tweet me at Mutant XP. Tell me which one is your favorite, 1 through 5. Let's hope you guys enjoyed that edition of Pack It Up. And so, to kind of end the podcast, and obviously, first of all, thank you, Dagger, for coming on the show and sharing your story. But I wanted to kind of ask you just about the game, since we're kind of on the topic of the game Third Strike. What are your kind of thoughts on the game? Kind of looking back, you've been playing the game for over 15 years. Just kind of looking back on it, like what's kind of your overall sort of assessment of Third Strike? Like the game, the scene,
Yeah, I think I'll always love it because those people are so dedicated and there's still that competitive fire, and I feel like that's missing a lot of the new game.
Yeah, great.
So like going back, I've been playing again recently. It feels good. It feels kind of like what I remember.
Awesome. And so let's talk a little bit about you as a player. Can we expect you to maybe when we're finally able to compete offline? Is there a chance that we might see Dagger G appear in a?
Yeah, maybe. No, that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. And so what's kind of motivating you now? I mean, it seems like you're a very goal-oriented person, but as far as Third Strike goes, obviously there's the idea of just personal development, growing as a player, and so forth and so on. But are there any tangible goals that maybe you're thinking of with regards to Third Strike? Like, I know we didn't really talk about Japan. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever been to Japan? Have you ever competed in Japan?
No,
Okay.
I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. I've played some of the Japanese players though.
Uh-huh.
It's really fun to play those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. Like maybe we could see you at a co-op cup one day.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it could be. There's usually goes to that like Ryan and Yuki and.
Well, I mean, I think a lot more foreign.
People.
I think a lot more foreigners are going to co-op cup. Obviously, before Corona, right? And so kind of last question, man. So if people wanna hit you up for games, if they want to play you, what's the best way to kind of reach you if people want to grind with arguably one of the best Remys in America?
Oh yeah, I mean you can hit me up on Fight Cage or I guess my Twitter. I don't really check it too much. Oh, by the way, do you want to know what the G stands for in Dagger G?
Oh, you know what? This is a good question. I hope it doesn't get us in trouble, but okay, what does what does the G stand for? Dagger G.
So everyone always asks me that. So I'm a big fan of consistency.
Uh-huh.
And when I was a kid, my very first internet name was Big G.
Big G.
And Big G is a nickname for Godzilla.
Uh-huh.
So I was a big Godzilla fan.
Uh-huh.
Right up.
Uh-huh.
And when someone told me to register on SRK, I wanted to keep the G in there, but I couldn't. I didn't want to put Big G because I felt like that's kind of lame. Like if people know what it is.
And then they meet you, right? They meet you in real life, and it's it. But that would be the sickest thing, though, right? They'd meet you in real life. You know what they're expecting, right? From a player named Big G.
Who is this guy? Yeah. So I kept the G, and then I deleted Big, and I was just looking around at on the floor, and I had this old Windows 95 game. It's called Dagger's Rage.
Dagger's Rage. Rage is another name of a Remy player. I don't know what you guys are on.
Dagger's Rage. Yeah. So I just that name, and I was like, well, that's my name forever, I guess.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a funny story. Now I'm gonna call you Big G. You should never have told that story. Right. Now I'm just gonna call you Big G. So I think, I don't know. That's pretty interesting. I mean, I like Dagger G, but this is a very interesting story. I do appreciate your original screen name. Yeah, definitely. So yes, once again, thanks again for stopping by on the Mutant XPerience podcast, Dagger G. I hope that we see more of your Remy. Congratulations on your win last Friday on Jazzy Fight Night against Big Dan. I don't know if you wanted to make any comments about that set. But I don't know if you had anything you wanted to say or whatever about that set. And so once again, guys, thanks again for tuning in to this episode of the Mutant XPerience podcast, episode 43, getting close to episode 50. Not really sure what I'm going to do for episode 50. I kind of want to do something sort of special, but I don't really know what that would be. So anyone has any suggestions, hit me up on Twitter at MutantXP. Please follow Dagger G at Dagger G, what you see on your screen. And so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you again, Dagger G, Kyle, for coming on. Good luck with everything, and I hope to see more of your Remy in the future. And so,
Take care, man.
so take care, guys, and I'll see you guys next time on the Mutant XPerience podcast.